Yeah, hello. Since stakeholder management is very critical, I am coming out with the second module on stakeholders. So here we will be discussing more about the complete cycle of stakeholder management as defined by PMBOK. The first thing is we identify the stakeholder. We identify First we identify the stakeholders. This happens uh, during initiation, and it is done by the sponsor. Uh, then comes the plan stakeholder management. Plan stakeholder management that happens during planning, and it is done by the project manager. Then manage stakeholder engagement. Manage stakeholder engagement. Manage stakeholder engagement. This happens during execution, again done by the project manager. And then control stakeholder management. Control stakeholder management. This happens during monitoring and controlling. That again happens done by the project manager. So we are talking about identification of the stakeholder by the sponsor during project initiation, and then during project initiation, and then stakeholder management. Okay, this happens during planning, done by the project manager. And then manage stakeholder engagement, that happens during execution, done by the project manager. And control stakeholder management happens during monitoring and controlling, again performed by the project manager. Now let us go in depth into plan stakeholder management. Plan stakeholder management. So this happens during planning and done by the project manager. And the inputs to this is the project management plan will come as an input. Stakeholder register, which was prepared during initiation, that is an input. Stakeholder register comes as an input. Then enterprise environmental factors. So we have a video on this already uploaded. Please refer to that. And then organization process assets. So this is also a organizational process assets talks about the lessons learned from previous projects, the best practices from previous projects, the work breakdown structure, the project execution reports, the company's quality management policies, project management guidelines. Everything falls under organizational process assets. So these things are also available for you for reference. So we are talking about the input side. So these are the inputs to your plan stakeholder management process. Then the tools and techniques for plan stakeholder management are expert judgment. This is a common thing for most of the process. Expert judgment is nothing but the expertise of the person who is doing it. Then meetings, I'm not explaining it. I presume that all of us understand what are meetings. Then analytical techniques. So these are the tools and techniques. We'll spend some time discussing about the analytical techniques for stakeholder management. So after initiation, we have the stakeholder register, which is a which is a big list, and ideally we should manage every stakeholder, but then that is not feasible. So we have to prioritize the stakeholders primarily based on two parameters. One is the power of the stakeholder to influence our project. The other one is the interest of the stakeholder. The interest of the stakeholder in your project. So here it is low, here it is high. So we can classify our stakeholders. There could be a set of stakeholders who have a lot of power and a lot of interest in your project. Typically the sponsor can fall in here. So these high power, high interest stakeholders will fall into this category. They should be managed very closely. Then we have a high interest, a low power category. They may fall into this quadrant. This may be the typical end users of your product. Maybe we should have strategies to include them into requirements collection or beta programs and those kind of things. So we need to have strategies to deal with the low power, high interest category, because they are the opinion leaders. If 10 of them say that it is bad, it becomes bad. Then we have the high power, low interest group. Maybe a monthly report monthly update should go to them. Maybe the CEO of the customer may fall into this category. He has a lot of other projects to manage. The project which you are handling is just one of his projects. He's very powerful. At the same time, he doesn't have a lot of interest in this particular project because he has a lot of other things to do. So, but we cannot ignore them. We need to have strategies to deal with them. Then we have one segment where it is low power and low interest category. For the time being, we can ignore them. So here we are talking about coming out with the stakeholder register and classifying the stakeholders based on two parameters. One is their power to influence your project. The other one is their interest in your project. So we get four quadrants: high power, high interest, high power, low interest, low power, high interest, and low power, low interest. Then we can develop appropriate strategies to deal with the stakeholder. And this comes as a stakeholder management plan during the planning phase of the project. It's called as a stakeholder management plan. And while doing this, we may go back and update sometimes we may go back and update the project charter or other documents. So project documentation updates also can happen while doing this, which can be an output to plan stakeholder management. So this is the second step in stakeholder management. The first step was stakeholder identification during initiation, then stakeholder management during planning, plan stakeholder management during planning, and the third one is manage stakeholder engagement, which happens during execution, and the last one is control stakeholder engagement during monitoring and control. So in today's project, what I've seen is most of the time we fail because of improper stakeholder management, because we cannot go by the contract document. The contract may say that, okay, you deal with one person who is acting as the project coordinator for your project, but then that person could be a high interest, low power category. We have to establish rapport with the high power, high interest category from the stakeholder side. Then only as a project manager we can be effective. So this structure or this framework gives us enough room to be proactive when it comes to professional stakeholder management. And because of that, I really adore this. Because without this, we cannot be successful in today's global distributed projects. We have more to add to this, which is not part of PMBOK. Because if the stakeholders' organization structures determines whether they are high power or high interest or low power, low interest and all, when we discuss about the different organizational structures and their impact on project management, then you will be able to read these two things together and make more meaning out of it. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye.